Do you ever wonder why some e-commerce brands make 40% of their revenue from email marketing while other brands struggle to hit even 10%? Well, over the last 18 months, running one of Australia's biggest email marketing agencies, we've worked with over 180 brands, and I've spent thousands of hours studying email campaigns to work out exactly what makes them effective. And across these emails, I've noticed some very consistent patterns. So today I'll be sharing what I've found and giving you the 5 most critical aspects of creating a good email marketing campaign so you can roll it out for your own brand and add thousands of extra dollars in revenue into your pocket. Starting with rule number 1, and arguably the most important, which is what I call the 40% open rate rule. If your emails aren't landing in the primary inbox, you've lost before you've even started. And that is why deliverability is complete make or break. It determines if people are actually seeing your emails. 100% of your success determines on whether or not you're landing in the inbox or the spam folder. Because if you're landing in the spam folder, you're making no money. You should be spending 80 to 90% of your initial efforts and a considerable amount of time thereafter optimizing your deliverability. Whether you're starting out or you have an ongoing email marketing system, this needs to be a key focus. To nail your deliverability, here's the key formula. The first thing you need to do is make sure you're getting open rates above 40%. Now, a lot of people who watch this will say open rates don't matter since iOS 14, Apple privacy opens, all of that rubbish, open rates don't matter. And the truth is, it's not a super reliable metric. And that's why people will say it doesn't matter. You will get a lot of false flags in your open rate. People who actually don't open the emails, they get tagged as someone who did, and therefore it inflates your open rate. But this is still a North Star metric we can use to assess the health of our email list. If we can get at least 40% open rates, chances are we're not landing in the spam folder. So the first thing you need to do is to ensure you're not just consistently blasting your whole email list. This is one of the key mistakes I see brands make. And if your campaigns are sitting below a 40% open rate, the chances are you're in a bit of hot water with your deliverability and probably landing in the spam folder. If you're under 20%, you're almost certainly landing in spam a considerable amount of time. If you're between 20 and 30%, it might be an issue with your segmenting, but you still have deliverability issues. If you're between 30 and 40%, this is okay. You might be sending to too many people at once, but still room to improve. But if you're above 40%, this is the sweet spot you want to be sitting at. Now, if you're above 60 or 70%, this probably means you're actually sending too narrow and you're not sending to enough of your email list. So note that as well. To get to 40% open rates, the first step you need to do is make your engaged segments. So I'm going to show you how to do that now. So in Klaviyo, what you're going to want to do is go to your listen segments tab and go create new, create a segment. Now, you can alter these definitions as you see fit or as you need to for your brand, depending on your deliverability. i.e., if you're having very low deliverability, like you're below that 20% open rates, or you know you're landing in the spam folders a lot, then you probably want to tighten things up and go even narrower. If you're having pretty good deliverability, your open rates are above 40%, above 50 or 60% even, you want to then expand these. So add days to the definition I'm about to give. So the key thing is, let's call this engaged. We'll go opened, we'll just abbreviate opened or clicked email in the last 90 days. Actually, we'll go active on site or abandoned checkout 180 days and placed order 250 days. Now, this is what I use for a pretty general or broad engaged segment. So, we're sort of prioritizing different events at different weights. So if someone opens or clicks an email, we only really want to include people who have done that in the last 90 days. If they haven't opened or clicked an email in the last 90 days, they're probably going to be considered more unengaged than engaged. Now, if we go then active on site, we want to make this a bit broader because this is a bit of a warmer event. So we can actually bring this one out to about 180 days. Same with abandoning checkout. That's a pretty warm event, you would say. If someone goes and they start a checkout, we're happy to include that out to about the 180 day mark. And placed an order, that's obviously the warmest metric possible, the thing we're trying to optimize for. So I usually like expanding this one out to about 250 days. If someone's placed an order in the last 250 days, we're happy to communicate with them. And the last definition you need to have is, and someone can receive email marketing. So this segment here for this brand, 144,000 people. This is going to give you a good overview of people who have either opened or clicked, they've been active on site, they've abandoned a checkout, or they've placed an order sometime within the last 250 days. Now, for this brand, they have about 250, 300,000 people on their email list. So you might be saying, well, I'm only sending to 144,000 out of 250,000 people on my email list. Aren't I excluding half my list? Isn't that, suboptimal? I'm paying for all these extra profiles? Not really. Having about half of your email list engaged is what you want. It's unrealistic to have your whole email list engaged. Your whole email list is going to be there for your bigger events like your Black Fridays, your site-wide sales, Christmas, new products, new collections. That's when you can send to the whole list. But for your regular campaigns, 80% of the time, you want to be sending to an engaged segment because that's how you're going to protect your deliverability. And it's how you're going to mitigate unsubscribes and people leaving. Like, you're going to have that segment of customers who only want to purchase with you about once a year. They don't need to get 3 emails a week. So if they're not interacting, let's exclude them. And majority of the time, we're only going to be sending to people who are engaging. Now, once you have your engaged segments, the second thing you want to do to improve your deliverability is mix in plain text emails. So I have a few examples here. The reason you want to do this is because they get way better engagement. They get way better open rates, way better click rates. Gmail sees heavily designed emails as promotional, as spammy. Of course, those design emails are important as they do convert really well, but plain text emails, they look personal and they serve as a really good point of pattern disruption, which means they get better engagement. So I would be using plain text emails about 30% of the time. Here's 2 or 3 good examples that I wanted to run you through. This one's an example of a more branded plain text email. So we still use the logo, we still use the footer. For this brand in particular, that's what they like doing. As you'll see, we use this most of the time, but you're also free to literally just send plain text out. Now, these have to be short, sharp. They need to have a good call to action. That is pretty much the key to writing a good plain text email. As you'll see here with our copywriting, each paragraph is really short and sharp. You're getting to the point. Each line has to earn its place, but you really want it to be digestible. Hey love, the wait is over. This is the key point. It's bolded. It really stands out. A couple paragraphs, call to action. Plus, we have our free shipping offer, a bit of a PS to add some urgency. That's all you need to do in a really good plain text email, and these are bound to get better open rates, better click rates, and they will convert really well. So that's all you need to do. Don't overcomplicate it. As you'll see, these 3 here, they're all very similar. They follow a very similar structure. This one was a little longer because we actually used it to communicate a bit of education. This can be good as well because your designed emails, oftentimes people will just click the hero image. So if you actually want people to read the information you're trying to portray, plain text emails are a great way to do this. Now, the third thing you need to do is clean your email list. So improving your deliverability, you don't want to have a bunch of dead and unengaged profiles loitering on your email list and taking up space. You're paying for these profiles at the end of the day. So we want to be cleaning these people off. What I call is a sunset segment. So let's create a sunset segment from scratch. So what we want to do is just call it sunset segment October 2025. And what we want to do is add some definitions. So someone has opened emails 0 times in the last year. They've clicked an email 0 times in the last year. They've placed an order 0 times in the last year. And they have been active on site 0 times in the last year. Now, the last thing you need to add here is we want to make sure we've actually been sending these people's emails, because if we haven't tried sending them emails, of course they haven't opened any. So we want to make sure that they've received at least, say, 10 emails in this time frame, because that means we've actually tried to engage them 10 times and they've still done none of these things. Now, for this brand, it's a segment of just 30,000 people, but what you would do is you would then run these people through a flow. So you would go to your flow, you create that segment, obviously, the sunset segment. Then you can go to your flow here, add a sunset segment or a sunset flow, and you do this based on the sunset unengaged segment that you just created. Now, once people enter this flow, it's super simple. You pretty much send them an email saying, hey, this is your last chance. We're going to remove you from the list. You create the profile property at the end, which means if they've made it to the end of the flow, they still haven't placed an order or they haven't opened and clicked an email, which is the primary thing we want to do here, email engagement. So if they haven't opened or clicked this email or any of these emails, we then mark their sunset to suppress as true. Once their sunset to suppress is true, you then have this sunset to suppress. I don't know how to spell, but you get this sunset to suppress segment here, which is sunset to suppress is true. And then you can just remove those people from your email list. So to make that as a segment, you would go segment, sunset to suppress, and this would be from your email flow. You would just create this. You'd have 68,000 people there. For this brand, we're due to do a bit of a bulk suppression. there's about 32,000 people here who have the sunset to suppress as true, who we will mark as suppressed. So this is a big list. It obviously racks up very quickly. Each quarter we sort of come in and just clean out these people. Very simple, good way to make sure that you're not getting overcharged on your Klaviyo bill. For this brand, in particular, you can sort of come up with some different strategies. We've personally held off a little bit because coming into Black Friday, we might want to actually take one more stab at re-engaging some of these people. We're already paying for them. So coming into Black Friday, it's a good opportunity to try get these people off the sunset to suppress segment and actually re-engage them one last time. And if they don't engage during then we'll come through and wipe all these people out. But that is exactly how you should be cleaning your email list. So I wanted to show you an example next of an account where what they were at before we incorporated all these tactics and where they're at now that we're incorporating the tactics I've just mentioned. So if you move my head here, if you actually go look at this brand, you'll see at the start of the year, they were sending to about 50,000, or they were getting about 48 or 50,000 people open their emails, some of them as low as 30,000. Then we start rolling out our segmenting, which I literally just showed you at the start of this video. All of a sudden, we're getting way more people open emails. You fast forward to today, we have 230 or even 300,000 people opening so many of our emails. So in rolling out these strategies, which I just showed you, which is the 90-day, 180-day engaged segments, the plain text emails, and regular list cleaning, we've been able to take this brand from getting 30 or 40,000 people opening their emails to up to 300,000 people opening this email. So it works. Having strong deliverability is literally the bare minimum, and it's the prerequisite of getting people to see your emails. If you have that, you're gonna get more clicks and you're gonna make more sales. So that is what we need to be doing. Roll out the strategies I just showed you and you will be able to get results like this, especially if you have a big list, which you're not taking advantage of. Despite your emails being seen, there's still gonna be a large percentage of people that aren't buying simply because you're not sending enough volume, and the emails that subscribers are receiving are actually just not interesting enough. So let's get into lesson 2, which is gonna be the 3 times weekly 80-20 rule. You've probably heard of the 95-5 rule or the 97-3 rule. Essentially, only 3 to 5% of people in your market are ready to buy today. Most of them, they're gonna buy at some point in the future, but just not today or anytime this week. So you need to be staying top of mind. Otherwise, when that customer is ready to buy, they're gonna go and shop with a competitor, probably because they've just forgotten you exist. One of the easiest ways you can fix this is through the power of frequency. As the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind, and it couldn't be truer for your email and SMS marketing. The average brand we audit has upwards of 50,000 email subscribers, yet they might only be sending 1 or 2 emails a week. And this is just not enough of a frequency to actually communicate with all of your subscribers. These same brands, they might be attributing about 15% of their revenue to email, but simply increasing their campaign cadence up to that 3 a week where we want to be sitting is the difference between getting to that 30% attribution. But it's easy to say just send more emails. The real question is, what should you actually be sending to these customers to keep them engaged year round? This is where my 3x3x3 framework comes in. Now that sounds complex, but trust me, it's not. It's very simple and it's the best way to think about your email calendars and your email campaigns. Firstly, we want to be sending 3 emails on 3 different days. So for us, we like to send on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Now we split that into 3 categories. We have more of a top of funnel campaign, like an educational or a value-based. We have more of a middle funnel category, like a social proof, UGC, or reviews. And then we have a bottom of funnel email, like a promotional or a direct response style email. So it's your 3 categories across 3 different days because only 3% of your email list is ready to buy, the 3x3x3. So if you're sending 12 emails in a month, it's really easy to make sure that about 6 or 7 of these are gonna be value-based. And that's gonna be things like product education, product nurturing, how-tos, do's and don'ts, tips and tricks, blog posts, all of that value that your customers can read and actually enjoy. About 2 or 3 of these are gonna be your middle of funnel topics. That's gonna be things like your reviews, your social proof, your UGC, your customer highlights. And then another 2 to 3, or the final 2 to 3 of these campaigns in your calendar, these should be your promotional emails reserved for new product launches, new collections, sales, whatever it may be. Having consistent campaign frequency is literally the bare minimum of staying front of mind and ensuring that people are seeing your brand enough so that when it comes time for them to purchase, you're the brand they think of. But even when you are sending regularly, there's still gonna be a ton of people who slip through the cracks and revenue you end up missing out on. This is why lesson number 3 is gonna be about the 8 flows you need to have in your account. So lesson 3 is the 8 flows that you need. But the reason these are so important is actually because of what I just spoke about in lesson 2, which is your campaigns. So hypothetically, Say you send a campaign to 10,000 people. It gets 200 clicks. Only say 5, 10 of those people might make a purchase off of that campaign based on your conversion rate. That leaves 190 people which are going to enter your active on-site flow, your browse abandonment flow, your abandoned cart flow, and your abandoned checkout flow. Those flows are then responsible for converting another portion of those 190 clickers who otherwise would have just gone to waste. And this is where serious revenue is made for the brand to understand this. There's so much debate out there about what the perfect email flow setup looks like, but the reality is most brands are still only running 2 to 3 of their email flows. And I'm here to tell you that you need all 8 flows and they all need to be properly built. There's no world in today's day and age of e-commerce where someone just visits your site and buys once. The flows are what do the selling and help patch the gaps in your customer journey or your funnel. They're selling for you 24/7. All of the best email marketing systems we make have upwards of 7 or 8 flows, and they have a whole ton of emails inside of those flows. A good system in total probably has anywhere from 40 to 50 emails. So these are the exact 8 flows that you need to make sure you have. Firstly, the welcome series, anywhere from 5 to 7 emails, building rapport and educating your future customers. Secondly, your active on-site flow. This is 1 or 2 emails, a good retargeting flow for people who land on your website. Thirdly, the browse abandonment flow. This is for people who view particular products and don't add to cart. I recommend 2 emails here to get them back onto the site and exploring more products. Then you have your cart abandonment for people who add to cart but don't start checkout. 5 to 7 emails is good here with a focus on new customers. Same with the abandoned checkout. Slightly different content. This is for people who have started the checkout process but haven't placed an order. Then you have your post-purchase flow. This is for people who have just placed an order. We're removing buyer's remorse, letting them know what to expect with their upcoming order, giving them any tips and tricks, and inviting them to follow us on social media. Then you have your win-back flow. This is for people who haven't returned to the site in about 60 or 90 days to place another order. We want to be following up with them, incentivizing them to come back and shop with us again. And lastly, you have the sunset flow, which I showed earlier, the key list cleaning flow, which is going to help you keep your list healthy and keep your deliverability good. So this is a brand we partnered with in January, a great example of what the power of flows can do. They'd obviously had a big downturn after a huge Q4. Coming into Q1, it's always going to be rough, but their flows were only doing about $100,000 in revenue, and they really only had a welcome flow for the different countries and a back in stock flow. That was it. We go ahead and we build out all the flows. Fast forward to October, the month we're in now. Not quite finished October, but it's the 30th of October at the time of filming. $391,000 in revenue from the flows. Still a pretty business as usual month for them. Revenue's up about $1.5 million compared to January, with a ton more revenue coming from the flows. Now the campaigns still carry the cake for this brand, but we have a full suite of flows here: abandoned cart, abandoned checkout, $100,000 added from the abandoned cart email alone, $80,000 from the abandoned checkout email. This is a huge driver for this brand now, and all they did differently was build out their email flows over the course of a year. If you comment down below, I can make a full video where I walk you step by step how to build each one of these flows for your e-commerce business. So if you are interested, drop a comment down below and I'll get that in the works. And just to deliver a little extra value for you, I wanted to show you a couple of settings you need to keep an eye on to ensure that your flows are optimized. So if you actually go into this flow and open any of these emails, one thing that we do is we keep the smart sending off in the flows. So if you actually scroll down here and take a look at this, we skip recently sent email profiles. We turn that off. So you can see the skip recently email profiles, the smart sending. A lot of brands keep this on. And what that means is you might send a campaign to someone at 1 p.m., they abandon checkout at 2 p.m., but because they received the campaign, the flow is gonna skip them. We don't want that. Just because we sent a campaign, we still want the abandoned checkout flow firing to those people at the right time. So turn smart sending off. It's gonna make your flows way more powerful. Now, the second thing we do here is we actually resend our welcome email to non-openers. Now, this is a pretty big needle mover because a lot of data shows that if someone doesn't convert within the first 48 hours of joining your email list, the likelihood that they're gonna convert becomes a lot lower, exponentially lower. So if someone doesn't open our first email, giving them the code, like this email here, 1 day later, we simply resend that first email to them. Here, another 43% open rate and a $12,000 revenue uplift just in the last month, just by resending this welcome email. So that's all you need to do here. Those 2 settings, turn off smart sending, resend your first welcome email. They're gonna be absolutely instrumental in improving the conversion on your email flows. Now let's move on to lesson 4, the part which brand owners think is the most important. and that is email design. But what most brand owners don't understand is that they overcomplicate their email design. Most of your customers, they're only gonna read about 20% of your email before they click. Otherwise, they're just gonna skim read the other 80%. People are just skimming these emails in between their busy, hectic day or while they're watching TV to understand if the email is important to them, if it's something they're interested in, and to look for the offer if there is one. Which leaves the question, how do you ensure that people get what they want before they get bored and they swipe off? It starts with visual hierarchy. You need to utilize things like making your offer the hero image, having one clear call to action above the fold, and bolding key information. This is something I see brands mess up all the time. They use these generic layouts where everything competes for attention. The logo is huge, the offer is small, there's a million call to actions to all different areas, the contact us page, the about us page, the subscriptions. Like they try cram every single thing into one email design, which you should just be communicating one offer in. You need to operate under the assumption that someone will look at your email for about 3 seconds before they scroll off. Imagine they don't read any body copy. Is this email clear just from a quick glance? So instead of cluttered design, just make the offer massive at the top so they can instantly scan it. Look at this email. There's the hero offer up the top. The variety pack is live. It's in big bold text. There's a single call to action above the fold. It's a big button with good contrast. There's minimal copy. There's one sentence there. There's like 2 sentences here and a few big sentences down here, but all very easy to read. This text here is bigger, so even if people do skim read, they're seeing the Voomi Variety Pack is officially live for pre-order now. You couldn't scroll through this email without understanding what it is. There's the product images for the visual support, more call to actions, easy sections which help you understand exactly what's happening, and then a secondary call to action down the bottom to iron it out at the end. This is easy. This email, it's not overcomplicated. It's one key piece of communication, one key idea per email. You don't want people getting confused. Now, this brings me into my final lesson, lesson number 5, plain text emails. I spoke about these briefly in an earlier lesson, but the key is simplicity beats complexity every single time. It's super easy to fall into the trap of making these beautiful designed emails every single time you go to send a campaign. But if that creativity comes at the cost of being seen and being read, you're gonna be leaving revenue on the table, especially once people get used to the look and feel of your emails and it's not really catching them off guard anymore. If you think about it, everyone's email inboxes is flooded with designed marketing emails. That's all they're getting all the time. And if you're just playing into that, you're just gonna drown out in the noise. This then means your open rates will suffer. This then means your deliverability will suffer, which then means you get less engagement, and then you get less flow revenue, and you can see how the snowball works. Because of this, we purposely create plain text emails with pattern disruption in mind. And they're exactly what they sound like. These are plain text emails from the founder, from someone on the customer service team that stand out. They look like an email that you would send to a friend. And when someone opens it, they think it's exactly that. They get caught off guard. 30 to 40% of the email campaigns that you send should be plain text. About 1 in 3 emails are safe to be plain text. Obviously, you don't want to overuse these because then you fall back into the first problem. All your emails start to blend in and they look the same. The goal here is pattern disruption. This is a really good example of exactly that. Each sentence is only 1 line long. It starts with a first name intro. It has a really clear call to action, and it's signed off with an email signature, which looks like it's from the founder directly. It's personal. It covers the topic that they want people to read about. It's very skim readable, just 1 line, 1 sentence at a time. It has the CTA at the end, and then the human sign off. That's it. There's no design. It's just words that feel personal. That is it. You should use plain text emails like these when you're trying to either re-engage people, give founder updates, talk about anything behind the scenes, or even some complex topics that you want people to actually read. For check-ins on customers or follow-ups from launches or sales or whatever it may be, and pattern interrupts. If you find you've been sending a lot of designed email, find an excuse to throw one of these into your campaigns. Now, when to use designed emails? Product launches, sales promotions, visual heavy content, and a lot of the time when you're just trying to get your brand top of mind. The benefit of designed emails is people start recognizing your branding, they see it more often, they're gonna be more likely to recognize you and know exactly who you are. So designed emails are certainly very, very important in your campaign cadence, but plain text emails, these are so great for pattern disruption and personal style emails. So in this video, I went over what's working right now from studying thousands of marketing campaigns, and I gave you the 5 rules that you need to be following with your email marketing. Now you can go and apply this to your own email marketing based on what I've shown you here. Or you can book a call with our team where I'll personally do an in-depth audit of your Klaviyo account. I'll go through the entire account, your campaigns, flows, segmenting, deliverability, pop-up forms, show you all the low-hanging fruit you need to fix. We've done this for hundreds of brands in the last 18 months, and we've personally helped over 180 brands generate over $80 million through email marketing alone. But thanks for watching. I hope you took some value out of this video. We quite literally break down every single thing you'll ever need to know about email marketing on this channel, so make sure you go and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.